Being born and raised in the Bronx, listening, cats like Jay-Z, Nas, and the likes of those, I'm very influenced by the hip-hop community, hip-hop music, hip-hop culture. I started running track about 11 years ago as a sophomore in high school. Fell in love with that, still doing it now. Started personal training about 6.5 years ago. Fell in love with that, still doing it now.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the third episode of the iChain podcast. I'm your host, Oscar Kemjika. This is a solo act today, no guests with me, and that's because I have some explaining to do. Yes, the first two episodes we had some amazing guests, a couple of friends of mine who are doing some awesome things in the entrepreneurial space as well as the fitness space. I am a fitness professional myself for over 12 years now, and I named this podcast the iChain Podcast not just because of that. I named it the iChain Podcast for various reasons, and I'm here to explain that to you today. First off, I've been doing personal training for over 12 years now. I'm also an athlete, track athlete that is, for over 16 years. My inspiration came from more than just what I did on the playing field as an athlete and as a fitness professional. It's about having a voice and inspiring you. Everyday people that have goals, fitness goals, dreams and aspirations to be the best versions of themselves. That is why I train. The satisfaction that I get is amazing. Just working with clients on a day-to-day basis is like they have their fitness goals, they reach them, they become much better than they ever did before. That gives me, the gratification that I get from that is second to none. The other thing is, me myself as an athlete, I do train. As well as train my clients, I train myself. And there's always another level to get to. You go from point A to point B to point C. There's always another level to reach. So I enjoy that aspect of being the best versions of myself over and over again, pushing myself to the limit in practice, getting to that next level, getting stronger each and every time I hit the gym, workout after workout after workout. Satisfying feeling, right? Reaching that next level continuously. Then there's another part of the I, and I'm from New York City. So there's no I train in New York City, and I do train, and I also train others. But then there's another piece of the I that a lot of us don't really think of, and that is the third eye, right? What do we see inside, or what our intuition tells us? The thing that we have bubbling inside our belly that tells us, oh, this something ain't right about this, or I should go try this thing, right? Or my gut feeling says I should, take up this thing because I'm good at it, or I feel like I can be great at it. That's our intuition that guides us. Sometimes we neglect it or we don't listen to it enough, right? So we have to train that, right? And become more aware and more in tune with that, right? Deep intuition. Tapping into your intuition is a strength that we can all acquire, but it takes effort. And the other aspect is the trained eye. Like, what do you gravitate towards? What do you have a trained eye to see? Is it fashion? Is it art? You can see talents in other people. You're drawn to, certain things that catch your eye because you just have an eye. Like you hear people say, I have an ear for music. Well, you can have an eye for fashion. You can have an eye for dance. You can see things. Your eyes are trained to see things. Right? So I know it's kind of deep with this quadruple entendre of I train, but I didn't want to just pigeonhole it to fitness, right? Because I'm a multidimensional person, and I'm sure most of you viewers and listeners out there are also multidimensional, and you can relate to this. As we go along in this podcast series, I would like to inspire people to think of it differently when they're training themselves to become better and improve their lives. Now, a little brief background in my history of being a trainer and someone who's helped people become the best physical version of themselves as well as mental. Like I said before, I started as a track athlete, sophomore year in high school. That opened up the door for me to really tap into my potential. Just being a track athlete, practice after practice is challenging for your mental, not just your physical. And it's allowed me to really train myself to withstand, all of the challenges that come along, the aches and the pains, the bruises, you get sore and, you got to go back to the next practice and do it all over and over again. You're putting your body through tremendous difficulty and hardship. But you get to another level where it's another mental barrier. After mental barrier, you reach your PR, there's always another hurdle to get after. Okay, you ran 2 seconds faster, but there's always another second or two faster that you can run. That's a mental part that you have to really focus in on and hone in and, say, okay, I have the ability to do this. So the other aspect of the training, when it comes to clients, you have to meet them where they are. I train people to feel good about themselves going in and, reinsure that they are pushing themselves to the next level. Reinsure that, yes, it's going to feel difficult at times, but you always got to push to that next level so that, you keep going. You keep going. There's going to be some bumps in the road, but you got to keep going and persevere. This podcast is a platform for you to learn and listen and how to really apply things to your life that says, okay, I'm working towards something, right? I'm continuing to persevere. I'm not just sitting back and mediocre and where I currently am. I'm always going to push to the next level. So be jumping on the iTrain. There's going to be some different members that have different walks of life. It's not just about physical fitness, right? It's also about what their personal struggles were, what they do day in and day out. How do they train themselves, their minds and their bodies to get to that next level? The other aspect is the intuition, the gut feeling, right? How do we train that? How do we train our third eye to listen to what our hearts and inner selves are telling us? Well, I'll tell you a personal story. Before I even started this podcast, I had this feeling that I had the voice from all of these years of, just writing and journaling and, giving myself some feedback on my own life experiences as an athlete and a fitness professional. How do I share this with people? How do I, put it in a way that can get out to the viewers and listeners, and inspire people. And public speaking was another thing that allowed me to have that voice when I joined Toastmasters about 5 years ago. And I gave speeches that helped people to help people get inspired and let them look inside themselves and say, okay, I can do this. I might be not as great as I want to be, but if I keep pushing and I train myself and I, tap into my intuition and not listen to naysayers or doubt and look for flaws, that I can continue to persevere and get to that next level. Back on the hip hop tip, obviously I've been influenced and inspired by hip hop all my life, growing up in the Bronx, New York. And the concept behind the iChain podcast, it does have a quadruple entendre, but it stems from my brand, IB Fit. And IB Fit is Ebonics. IBE comes from my middle name, my Igbo name, short for eBay Zim, which means I learn from my companions. The IBE part, I created an acronym. I, innovate, B, believe, E, empower. IB-FIT, there's also a symbolism from the word fit that, I broke down into 3 parts. The first F, function. I is the you in between that function, and T is your talent. How do I function with my talents? That's the question that we must ask ourselves when we say that we train, right? What are our strengths? What do we gravitate towards to do every day? What makes life worthwhile? What do we love doing and improving at, right? It's normally our talents. It's normally the thing that we're very strong at. So those are the gifts that are given to us. How are we training those gifts to grow and become more influential, more inspirational, right? So that's the question that, we can always ask ourselves to make sure that we're in line with, the path that we are called to do. How do we function with our talents? Right, so IB Fit is more than just the fitness aspect, because if you are an artist, your talent is design. Your talent is having an eye for what looks nice, what looks presentable, right? In the fashion sense. Or if you have an eye for art, what, colors blend together, So these are things that you can train yourself to do. Now, going back to as far as our journey to improving ourselves and what we're training towards, if you are in a space where you feel like I can work harder, where do you draw inspiration from, right? Is it from yourself? Is it from your own inside, gut feeling that you should work harder, or is it from someone else? It's usually from outside, but if we can draw inspiration from inside, that's when we're in tune with our third eye. And the third eye really guides us. That's the thing that says, okay, we have an internal innate ability to accomplish something externally, right? But we have to be aware of that thing. For my example came from, I can give an example about, when I was about, I would say in my third year of running track. That's when everything blossomed for me as an 800 meter runner. I dropped 6 seconds in the 800 meter in one outdoor season in my senior year. Now, I didn't know I could do that in the beginning because it was so hard to break 2 minutes. But when I finally did, it was like, okay, I have the innate ability to tap into this source of power that I didn't see, right? And my intuition told me that come what may, whatever level of practice or whatever level of workout that I, come across that practice, that I had the ability to push through and then perform well after that. So maybe for you, it's, I don't know, I'm taking this tough exam or I'm studying for the bar exam, and you're like, okay, if I'm studying now, do I have the ability to pass with flying colors or have a high mark? Well, the process is there. You want to tell yourself that I'm doing this because I'm going to have a high mark. And it's going to be tough at first. You're not going to know how it's going to happen. But when you're in the moment, you're training yourself, right? You're training yourself to get to that next level and push through, right? So don't think of the training aspect as just physical. It also is mental, and it's also an intuitive training that you got to go through. Every generation owns hip hop. Shout out to Gifted Apparel NYC. Find them on Instagram. So, born and raised in the Bronx, New York, there's no eye training in NYC. But how do we train our eyes to see art? If you're an artist or a musician, how do we train our eyes to see talent? If you're a coach or a teacher, right? So the iTrain podcast is going to feature these type of professionals, and they're going to give you their inner scoop or inner scope of how they see things. I think that it's important that I branch out of just fitness because I have a fitness viewership. Yes, that is true. I'm a fitness professional, but it just speaks to how everyone has their talents and bringing it to the table. Like, we have different flavors of life. We're from different walks of life. We have different strengths. We all have ways in which we can help others become better, in which we can train others to reach the levels that we've reached, right? So if we're strong in an area, then we can help and inspire the next person to be strong in that area. So the iTrain podcast is going to reach not just helping people reach their fitness goals, but it's going to reach out to viewers and listeners in a sense that's going to help them reach that next level and reach that goal that they have for them, whether it be becoming a singer or becoming an artist or becoming a musician, right? They want to learn, the little intricacies on how to train for that and how to strengthen their skills. So I thought long and hard about this. This is a quadruple entendre, just a little deeper, but I didn't want it to just be fitness because I am a multi-dimensional thinker, and I'm sure I have a lot of listeners and viewers who are also multi-dimensional thinkers as well, and you appreciate that as viewing this podcast. Now, creativity is something that I gravitate towards. Innovation. The I in my brand, I Be Fit, stands for innovation. I train in an innovative style with my clients. I write in an innovative style with my spoken word. And we'll see some of that showcased on the iTrain podcast as well. there's a lot of things that I can bring to the table, and also I want to inspire people to bring their uniqueness, bring their quirkiness to the table, because we all have that. We all have a different way of looking at things, right? Through a different lens. We see things differently with our eyes, right? We pick up on things differently from the next person. We all have unique gifts to bring to the table. So to recap on what we discussed in today's episode, the 4 key points or the 4 lenses in which this iTrain podcast is going to be presented. First, we have the iTrain concept as me being a personal trainer and me training clients and me being an athlete and me training myself, like, of course. Then secondly, we have the iTrain of different professionals who are trained to see different things through their lens, through their life experiences. The dancers, the musicians, the teachers, any kind of person who has an eye for talent. We'll have those guests on the show. Thirdly, this being based in NYC, me being born and raised from the Bronx, New York, and experiencing the transportation system, there's no iTrain in New York City. Of course, there's an A, there's a B, there's an E, there's a C, there's everything, but there's no iTrain. And lastly, intuition. The intuition that we all have within us is an understanding of ourselves. It's the third eye that we have that guides us. Sometimes we listen, sometimes we ignore them, but it's there to help guide us and let us have that spark inside and fire inside our ability to get up and do something that we really are called and inspired to do. All right, so that wraps it up. We have some amazing guests coming our way very soon. I'm excited to bring them your way on the iTrain podcast. Stay tuned. You can click on the description box to find out more of where you can listen to this podcast as well. All right, looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace.
I believe that people should function with their talents. And once people function with their talents, they know what they're good at every day, what they're capable of doing. They become more empowered because they believe in themselves. And that's within the realms of who they are. They're like superheroes, man. Like they can fly and do amazing things. They should feel like, they have total belief in themselves, total confidence in themselves. It has a statement to it. I do fit.